In this video, I'm going to show you how I make these coasters. Welcome to my humble, messy workshop. Today I got a little project I'm going to share with you that's super easy to make, and it is selling as fast as I can make it. So I figured I'd share it with you because maybe someone else wants to make some. And it's so simple. It's not like a revolutionary idea. It's just a coaster. All right, so what I got here is I have a couple buckets of these, which are cedar fence picket cutoffs. Now, I built a wall on a barn up north using cedar fence pickets, obviously, and I ended up cutting off like a 5-inch section on each one. All right, so it's about 5 by 5.5, and they've been sitting in this bucket 6 months or more, okay? Which actually turns out to be a good thing, because then you can go through and they've had a chance to dry out, because you're going to have some that get quite a bit of curve like this one, right? And you can maybe still save that, but right now I have so many, I'm just taking the straightest ones, and that's what I'm using. And basically, pretty much one of these, when it's finished, pays for the whole picket. So if I sell enough of these, pretty much that whole wall is paid for and then some, probably. All right. So basically the process is, I'll talk it out before I show you, is I take these and I level them off and round the corners on this little belt sander. Then I smooth them off using a little orbital sander with a 220 grit pad. And then I take them in the house, and I got little stencils, and I draw the stencil on and with a pen, and then I paint over it, and then I dip it in teak oil, and I have a finished coaster. Here, I'll show you how it works and what they look like when they're done. All right, so you get your coasters all painted up, and I got a little tub of teak oil here, and I just drop them in, let them soak here. So I did dragonflies, and then with stencil I did a couple birds too. And once the paint dries, you can drop them in this teak oil, and it doesn't affect the paint there. At least I haven't had any ill issues with it. And the teak oil is pretty nice little protectant. So then you just take them out, and I got a piece of old t-shirt here, and you just kind of dry them off. This teak oil is super forgiving, kind of makes it pop, you know, kind of makes it look good. And don't worry if your painting's a little off. That's character. People seem to like if it's not perfect, because then you can tell a human did it. You know, the imperfections add character, and people like character. Like there's a bird. All right. Get the old dragonfly out. So I just wipe it off. Ooh, this one, the color's really nice. Not sure if that's coming through on the camera, but that's pretty nice colors on that one. I don't know if I necessarily like that dragonfly, but he's on there now. The big thing here is you just want to make sure you're not leaving any oily like fingerprints on, because you can leave little darker spots if you're feeling this thing up. You know, see if I can do it here. And if you set it down like that, sometimes that stays, right? But otherwise the teak oil's pretty darn forgiving. And then I'll just let that set like tomorrow, and they're done. So it doesn't get any simpler than that. And then the reason I've been doing it in this Rubbermaid container, it seems like it lasts forever, the teak oil, and it's less of a mess, although I've been pretty messy this time. So then when I'm done, I just put my cover back on my teak oil, and we're good to go. And then this I'll throw in the wood stove. I don't know if teak oil is combustible. I guess I never tried it, but just to be safe, I throw it in the old wood stove. All right, now the reason I make these is, well, I had to get rid of the scraps for one, but it's nice when people say you have a booth at a craft fair, people come in and they may be looking at something you're selling that's more expensive, and they end up buying these, and then they take your information. It's just a good foot in the door. And I've had people that bought these and then later have bought something like this bench. All right, say I've made a few of these, sold them. Now this, I've sold this one for, well, not this one yet, but the one before it I sold for 350 bucks, and I have a person coming to look at this one. So basically, this is a log. I had an old log cabin on the property we bought, and you know, there's a bunch of half rotted logs on. Like this one had a fair amount of rot. Like I dig out the rot with a screwdriver and get down to all hard wood, right? Okay, so the back had some too. So this is a groove where it sat on the other log. You know, that side was the top, this was the bottom. It was rounded to sit on the other one. All right, so I dug out the rot and I filled that up with epoxy. Okay, it's a blue glow-in-the-dark epoxy. I added the glow-in-the-dark additive to it when I poured it. And of course, I carved out 2 wolf prints, life size, and 2 black bear prints, life size also. All right, so, and then, you know, after I carved that out, I poured the epoxy in it, sanded it down. These were originally hand hewn, but I sanded that smooth because no one wants a sliver in their butt when they sit down on a bench. At least I don't. And even like the nail holes, because they had like lats over the log side or the log cabin log, and then they had siding. So that's what the nail holes are, and I filled them with epoxy. Okay, and to finish the bench off, basically I got some scrap metal. There's a place, I don't know in your area if there's a place like that, but there's a scrap yard that'll sell you metal pieces for like 5 cents a pound or 4 cents a pound, depending on what scrap's going for. And they'll let you go dig through their pile, weigh it, and you can take it home, okay? So I dug this out of the pile, hauled it home, and I basically welded it into a T and welded a top that'll screw onto the bottom, obviously. I threaded two holes in the bottom for these adjustable feet. And then the finish, I don't know if it's coming through on the camera. It's got kind of a rainbow type color to it. And basically, I sanded the whole piece down with a grinder. Well, grinded, I guess, not sanded. And then I took a torch and I heated it up. And that gives metal that kind of rainbow look. I hope that's coming through on the camera. In person, it's pretty nice. And then I put like 4 coats of clear coat on it. So it should stay. And of course I had to weld caps in the end because this was just square or rectangle tubing. But yeah, so you get a little work. I would say something like this, probably 2 hours to build. But you know, you sell it for $350, and I think that's a deal. And like the wood, I mean, this is some old growth wood. I don't know if that'll come through on the camera, but look how tight them rings are together. This was an old tree, and this cabin was built back in the 1800s. So, I mean, just think that when this tree was standing, you know, it was probably starting to grow in the 1700s, you know. So this is an old tree, so there's some character to it. But yeah, now that I got off on that tangent, but basically these coasters, they're like an entry-level drug. You get people in, and they buy the coasters from you, and they like them, and they come back for more. So, I guess, thanks for watching. That's all I can think of rambling on about, and have a good one.